Okay. When we're looking at these lists, what's coming up is the what they call the LTM, a rolling 12-month period. Okay, so at all times we have a rolling 12-month period, and how we determine whether somebody is a capper or not, or a half capper, is based on their known production through the MLS during that time period. I'm usually looking up FMLS unless I'm calling a brokerage that is like a little smaller, like not the Century 21s, the Remaxes, the Berkshires, the Coldwell Bankers, the Metro Brokers. Most of those companies, or all those companies, as far as I understand, mandate that they put the listings in FMLS. Some of the smaller ones do not, which means that if you were to look at the Georgia MLS numbers, and this will all make much more sense to you once you have broker metrics. If you're looking at the numbers may be higher on the Georgia MLS. Okay, now what we're seeing, we don't know any of their compensation plans. We have a rough idea of what their brokerage does, but what we know is that they, okay, he's not coming today. What we know is that they have a past history of having that level of production, and therefore likely have a future likelihood of hitting that production. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so what cap management is by the way, you would never explain this to anybody. This is just for your own knowledge, and you would introduce the concept of cap management to a prospect by saying, there could be some particular financial incentives for you to make the move to Keller Williams, but chances are you're not even going to be getting that far in the conversation, because you are not necessarily making recruiting calls, so to speak. You're making invitations or setting up appointments, right? So if they're like, well, I don't want to be recruited, say, this isn't a recruiting call, right? I just want you to have some information, and hopefully it'll help you in the growth of your business. Well, why are you doing that for free? Well, the truth of the matter is that oftentimes when agents of other brokerages see the kind of technology that we have and the systems and models that our agents are using to build their business, and they have exposure to a lot of the training that we offer, they realize that they're not typically getting that level of service at their own brokerage, and they start asking some questions about Keller Williams. And if ultimately that happens to you, we'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. But in the meantime, if you don't want to bring up Keller Williams, we won't talk about Keller Williams at all. Fair? Right? So you don't need to know all this, or it's good to know, but you don't need to really be able to vocalize it. So the way cap management works ultimately is, let's say I'm a capper at another company. So capper is like about, let's say, $1.7, $1.8 million worth of transactions. Okay. So what that means is that they're going to come, let's say they decide to come over. So immediately they would have to start paying our 30% and our 6%, right?
Yep.
Regardless of what their comp plan was at their previous brokerage or whether they were capped or not, right? So some brokerages, by the way, don't even have a cap, right? So it might be 80-20, but you pay 20% on every single deal, right? Or 70-30, but you pay 30% on every single deal. Okay, so just as understanding the commission split is important, it's also very important to understand what is the cap and is there a cap. Okay, so when somebody were to come over, let's say you were a capper and you come to the Roswell office, ordinarily, immediately you would start paying the 30% and immediately you would start paying the 6%, regardless of where you are in your fiscal year or whatever with your other company. Okay, cap management is basically it functions in 3 ways. So the first is, let's say you were to come today, okay, the end of August, then normally your fiscal year starts on September the 1st and would run through the following end of August. Okay, now during that time period, you would start to pay the 6% until you hit 3,000 and the 30% until you hit 15,000. Once you have at typical commissions roughly $1.8 million worth of production, you will have paid the 15 and the 3, and you no longer owe the 6% or the 30%. You do follow that part, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so cap management is basically pushing off the 30%. So it's basically saying, if you join us today, for example, we can't do anything about the royalty fee. So the 6% we would have to charge right away. But we could, let's say, move your 30% payment. Instead of starting September 1st, we could say it'll start on June 1st. And that means everything from September 1 through June 1, you would only pay 90, you would pay 90, you would get 94%. You'd pay the 6 until you hit the 3. And ultimately you'd have 2 anniversaries. Your anniversary for the 6% would go September to August or September to September. And your anniversary for the 30% would go from, let's say, June to the next June. Okay, so like that's my scenario, for example. So I came on, I got a couple months of cap management. So every December 1st, I start paying my 6%, but I don't start paying the 30% until March 1st. So that's what's meant by the fiscal year. So the majority of the time that I get around to paying my cap in March, I've already hit the 3,000 in from between December and March, and so I don't have to pay that anymore, but I do pay the 30%. So it does a couple of things. Number one, it's an incentive to join. Number two, it takes care of some of the cost of transferring. So for example, if you are an agent at Century 21 and now you're considering coming to Keller Williams, it's going to cost you a little bit of money to get like, new signs, a new name badge, to switch out your logo. Like it's going to take some time to, move around your systems and these kind of things. So if you do 1 or 2 deals a month without having to pay us for, let's say, 9 months, you're able to stack some money and to pay for some of those transitional fees. Make sense?
Oh, absolutely.
The other thing that it does is it helps us to equalize our profits. So what I mean by that is, so our whole roster we have on a document that we call the color-coded roster is what we call it. And it basically has every single person lined up on when their anniversary starts again, right? We've also gone even further to determine each one of those people, how long does it take typically each of those people to cap, right? So one person might cap in an average of 3 months, another person might cap it an average of 11 months. So what we're trying to do is, because our expenses are roughly the same every month, we would ideally like our revenues to be similar every month. But if we had everyone starting, let's say everyone was January to the end of the year, then we would have huge profit months at the beginning of the year because everyone is paying in. And then towards the end of the year, we'd have not that many people paying in, and we either wouldn't have a profit or we'd have much lower profits. So in an effort to keep profit share balanced and profitability balanced, we try to stagger the start dates of ideally the top producers. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so that's really the purpose behind cap management. That's more or less something somebody else would be talking about, right?
Oh, absolutely.
You're really not going to have to get into the weeds about that. Okay.
Well, you mentioned which one was one of my favorite scripts, and it's so this where the script is talking about, hey, listen, I can imagine that 2021 has caused a lot of agents to reevaluate where they're at, their current company, if it's in alignment, how to reach their goals. What I found is smart agents like yourself, even when they're happy with where they're at, they're exploring other opportunities out there that help them reach their goals faster. If you're, I'm just curious if there was a way for you to do more transactions next year, working with less time, keeping more money in your pocket for you and your family. Would it make sense to hear about it? But that's when, if they say no, then that script's getting into like, well, you can go back to your broker and negotiate a better deal. And
I don't like that part.
I don't like that part either.
Okay, so cross it off.
Yeah.
How my response to I'm not interested in that, Justin, would be, okay, so I completely understand that you're not interested in saving time and saving money. So do you happen to know anyone else that's looking to improve their business by saving time and saving money so that they can spend more time with their family? Do you know of any other realtors where that would be important to them?
Yeah.
Right. And what I'm really saying is, are you a fucking idiot? Are you listening to me? I'm trying to save you time and money. Are you paying attention?
Absolutely.
Excuse me.
I get
Whoever's
it.
watching this video, I'm sorry. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely.
So and I'm not trying to mock them, but I kind of want them to hear how ridiculous their answer was.
Yeah.
Make sense? So they
Absolutely.
say, no, I'm not interested in that type of offering. Say, oh, okay, I understand that. So do you happen to know any of your colleagues or your friends in the business that would like to work less and make more that I could share this opportunity with? And then they'll probably do a little chuckle and say, okay, so which one would you rather meet? Wednesday at 2 or Thursday at 5? Right?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So the idea is to pique their curiosity enough so that they are willing to take a meeting, right?
Yep.
A lot of times they're pretty abrasive, and they're like, I'm not interested in being recruited, or I'm not interested in being recruited. And we can go back to what we said a few minutes ago, which is, oh, this isn't a recruiting call. I'm calling to offer you an opportunity so you can learn some things and potentially grow your business. Would that be of value to you? Right. Well, I'm not changing Keller Williams. I was at Keller Williams, blah, blah, blah. We're not going to talk about Keller Williams. This is for you. Okay. If you bring up Keller Williams, be happy to talk about it. In the meantime, this is a free offering for you. Are you interested? No. I love my broker. Okay, great. I love my broker too. I assume you love your broker, or you probably would have gone somewhere else. So let me ask you, are you on track for your goals? Which is another way of saying, wait a second, I'm not talking about your broker. I don't care about your broker. I care about your business.
Yep.
And by the way, if your business is off, how much does your broker love you? Right now, that's a little in your face. I wouldn't say that right off the bat to people. But if somebody is going to tell me, with all due respect, that their 3 transactions this year are in alignment with what they were seeking when they got the real estate license, they're lying. And by the way, if they're only doing 3 transactions and they love their broker, there's a couple of problems with that. Number one is, I'm not so convinced your broker even knows who you are.
Yeah.
Right? Or they would have grabbed you by the shoulder and say, Justin, you've only sold 3 homes this year, sir. And based on our conversation that we had 6 months ago about how you wanted to pay off debt and buy this car and send your kid on this vacation, I want to chat with you about how I can get you back on track. So who in your environment currently is helping you reach your goals and is holding you accountable to the activities that you have to do daily to be on track? And they'll be like, no one. Say, I'd like to be that person for you. When can we meet? Right? So it all goes back to highlighting where they're at versus where they want to be, identifying what that gap is, and then offering them a solution to the gap. The gap is generally, I heard this the other day, which I really liked. They say the gap is generally either in mechanics or in mindset. Mechanics would be something business related, like I don't have enough clients, or I can't find any sellers, or I need better systems, or I need better technology, or I don't have a good follow-up plan, or any of that kind of thing. And the mindset would be like, there's no listings out there. Every open house I do, no one comes. Life is terrible, right? So we have solutions for both of those. So we need to try to figure out what is the difference between where they're at versus where they want to be. By the way, just so you understand, there's only 2 problems a real estate agent will ever have. Have I told you what those 2 are?
Leads or too many leads.
Yes.
That was actually what the script was. I kind of like that script a lot, but I just don't know if that's some question you ask right off the bat, or if that's not. Sometimes I feel like you almost have to get in a kind of like a conversation mode for that to work really well. You can't.
I agree. I agree. Another more delicate way of saying this is, what I find agents in your production level generally suffer from one of two primary concerns. Either they have money concerns or they have time concerns. Which one are you struggling with the most right now? Right. Money concerns, by the way, is I don't have enough leads. And time concerns is I have too many leads. See what I'm saying?
Yep.
Okay, now I'll give you a hint. Again, I'm not trying to be a smartass here, but if they're less than $2 million in production, they only have one problem. Well, one of two problems. Either their mindset sucks, and their habits suck, or they just aren't trying, right? Or they're just not doing enough lead gen. You just do not have enough leads. If you had more leads, you'd have more business. You've shown us that you can close, right? You've had enough closings, which is beyond what likely fell into your lap when you told the world you had a license. So you're capable of doing deals. The only thing that's stopping you from doing more deals is you don't have enough leads. Make sense?
Yep.
So ultimately, if you're going to be calling primarily half cappers and lower end cappers, then generally speaking, they're going to have money problems, right? And you may have to highlight that for them. So you could say, hey, just out of curiosity, I'm speaking to a lot of agents roughly in your production level. And what I'm finding is agents are suffering from one of two primary concerns. One is they're having either financial struggles or they're having time struggles, right? And, which is it for you? Right. And they say, oh, I'm running out of time. I never have enough time for this and that. I've got to go here and there and here and there and here. They need systems. And most likely they need some coaching. And if they don't have enough leads, therefore they have financial problems, could say, we have a number of different opportunities for training. We have dual career masterminds. We have productivity coaching. We have a class this week on listing presentations, right? We have a class this week on Facebook ads. Would you be interested in attending any of that? No cost, no commitment or anything. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So it always goes back to basically, what can I offer this person that they most likely do not have access to at their current firm? Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's spend a minute or two kind of going through this spreadsheet really fast. And then I want to create the list of essentially what we'll call carrots to them. Okay, so this is just I believe I've shared this with you, right?
I believe so.
Okay, so this is a document that I've called the Roswell Growth Team. And what this is, okay, I've shared it to your KW address. Okay, so it just has everyone's name and number and whatnot up at the top. This is like the cover page, if you will. Okay, I'm ultimately going to be tracking the following things for each of you guys, which is appointments set, appointments held, the number of people that joined, the number of people that named you as a sponsor. Okay, so for example, let's say we have here. I'll show you a page that I created for myself. Okay. Oh, by the way, at the bottom here, Bill, Justin, Stephen. This is essentially your pipeline. Okay, so if you set an appointment, you put the Y here and their name here and their brokerage and their number, so you can quickly access the information and who to follow up with. You can create your own color system to differentiate each of the people based on what stage of the process they're in, that kind of thing. So the question is, was the appointment set? Was the appointment held? Did you invite them to something in particular? Did they join? Did they name you a sponsor? And was your bonus paid? Okay. So this is your ongoing pipeline. So now we look at the month of August. Okay. And what I did is I just put in some fake numbers so I could write up the formulas, but this is basically how I did it. Are you looking at the sheet?
Yeah, I just pulled it up. Yep.
Okay. So I'll I'll get rid of the screen share then, so it's a little easier. So I'm on the August tab. See that?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you look at my name, I said I set 17 appointments. I held 10, or 10 were held. 4 of them joined, and 2 of them named me a sponsor. Okay, then we've got a couple of other formulas here. This one right here on F5, percentage to the standard, right? Our standard is 10 a month. So the formula there is C5, which is appointments held over 10. So I held 10, so I'm at 100%. Stephen held 9, let's say, so he's at 90%. You held 11, so you're at 110%. See that? Follow me?
No. Yeah, actually, there it is.
Here,
Yeah.
I can share my screen if it makes it easier.
No, I think I see it now. Yeah, it just keeps, yep.
Okay, the next column is percentage held. Okay, so held is the ratio of held over set, right? C5 over B5. Okay, percentage joined is the relationship between joined and held. And percentage sponsor is the relationship between sponsor over joined. Follow that? So once we change, let's say I was to go here to 12, all the equations change because the numbers are changing. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay, I also totaled it down here so we can, all the people in the group, we know how many appointments were set, how many appointments were held, and what the standard is. So not only do I want to make sure that each of us hit 10, right? But I want to make sure that the group hits 10 times the number in the group. So for example, let's say somebody gets sick or somebody's on vacation and they only hit 8. The rest of us got to figure out how to fill in the blanks so that the standard for each of us is 10 and the standard for the 3-person group at the moment is 30. Make sense? So
Yes.
This is the number that of the standard to the group, or the standard of the total amount that the group needs. So we're watching that too. That way we're really playing as a team. Make sense?
Yeah. Now, just out of curiosity, Stephen is, my understanding is he's not going to be doing production.
I was not aware of that. What did you hear?
Yeah, I was under the impression that all he was going to do was recruiting. And I would like to spend a third of my day recruiting. So I don't, maybe more in the beginning. So I was just curious if all Steven's doing is recruiting. It seems like he would have to hit a lot to make it worth it, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, look, it's a long game. Okay.
Yeah.
So like
No, absolutely.
I really pushed hard on recruiting for like maybe 3-ish years or so. And I built up a profit share tree that has been paying me roughly 50 grand for the last 3 years each year. Right.
Yes.
So that's the equivalent of having $2 million in the bank.
Yep.
And that's spitting off the 3% yield every year in passive income. It only was put in the bank because I earned it, then I saved it, then I paid taxes on it.
Yeah.
So we could say that we're not getting paid that much, but the truth of the matter is that we're getting paid a lot.
Yep.
But it's a long haul, right? And the fact that we get a little portion of the bonus for cappers and half cappers is just gravy.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. When I was doing this what was that, like 6 years ago, I wasn't getting anything like that. Right. As a matter of fact, I became essentially obsessed with it. And that pushed me, honestly, to allowing somebody else to take most of the buyers and sellers. And that pushed me to leverage that before I probably would have. And then fast forward, and I have leverage pieces in my sales business, and I have leverage pieces in my profit share. So my people, I got 5 or 6 people building my profit share tree as we speak, because they're making calls for themselves, but I also am a beneficiary of that.
Yes.
Okay. So the next thing I wanted to say, so each of us has a standard of ourselves. That's column F right here. But we also have a standard together. Okay. And the reason why I didn't put standards on the appointment set or joined or sponsored, because honestly, I don't really care about that. right? We got to hit the 30. So it doesn't make a difference how many we have to set. We still have to hit the 30. Now, as we look at this number right here, this percentage held, we can identify if any of us are weaker or better and share ideas and these kind of things, ultimately, so that we can help one another. And we'll get a better feel for forecasting of the number of appointments that we have to set each week or each month, so that our goals end up getting hit, right? And then we can say to ourselves, like we did the other day, how many, if I dedicate an hour to this, what can I expect? Can I expect 2 sets, 1 set, 4 sets? Based on that, how many will I agree to hold, or what's the likelihood that those will be held and joined and all that? So we can put math to all this. So I have a similar sheet. If you look at September and October and November, all that is, all added up and all that kind of stuff. So we'll have a page for each month that you would be expected to keep updated at all times. And all that will factor in to the front page, where we'll have a set, held, joined, sponsor, and all the same stuff. This is on the Roswell team results tab to the far left, where all of your months total and all of my months total and all that would be reflected. And we can track our percentages up or down as the year progresses on the months: August, September, October, November, December. Make sense?
Yeah. So am I inputting my own data here, or I send it to you, or okay?
So every day you would probably have this tab open, the Justin tab. And every time you set an appointment, or you, quite frankly, you just want to make a list of the people you're in courtship with or whatever, or maybe the people that said, hey, text me some dates and times and I'll get back to you. Okay, so you haven't said anything yet, but you don't want to lose sight of that person. So how do you remember to call that person again? So maybe that goes on your pipeline report. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And then of course, every time something happens, you go in here and you update this number. That's on the whatever month tab it is. Okay. Now let's go to the Roswell team results page for a second. And let's start to create some carrots, if you will. So I'm just gonna, let me open up another spreadsheet that I,
So am I thinking this wrong? I probably will be calling the same list 2 to 3 times, maybe 5 to 6 times a year, depending on what's going on.
yeah, probably.
So the goal necessarily isn't a transaction initial script conversation. It needs to be one that sort of leaves the door open.
Yeah, they're like, oh, I'm good now. Say, okay, great. So what are you hoping to do before the end of the year? Oh, I'm hoping I get 3 more closings. Okay, great. So would it be okay if I just kept in touch with you over time? And if I come across a great class that I think might be of value to you, I send it to you. And, no commitment, just, at some point in the future, I'm around and there's lots of opportunities and just want to keep the dialogue going.
Yep.
Right. And then maybe you have a list of people who you have that type of relationship with, yet you've never set the appointment, or you set the appointment and they bailed, but you still have their name down so that you can, contact them again. Make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay. Hang on just one moment for me. Ugh.
And then obviously you've got the broad experience. You're on leadership. You're a business coach. I think I was listening to that old or last week's recording again, and it made it sound like there are times, I don't know if you're just recruiting people directly. You're not necessarily sending them to Robin or Bill, or excuse me, not Bill, but Aubrey.
That is actually the other thing I wanted to chat with you about. So hang on, let me
because it sounds like there's an intermediary sometimes where you're just meeting with them before they go on, because that's just where they're at.
Yes.
Personally.
And I'm assuming you probably don't feel quite as comfortable with that, right? Because I've met with, tons of people over time, and I can speak the models and business plans and all that kind of stuff. So for me, when I'm making these calls, I have to essentially determine, is this somebody who I need to warm up a bit before I send them to Aubrey or Robin? Or is this somebody that I've kind of been given the go ahead, so to speak, to send them directly to Robin or Aubrey? Most of the time, what I'll probably end up doing is doing an intermediary meeting, right? So it might sound something like, hey, there's a number of, we have a couple extra tickets for this function, and I wanted to see if you might be interested. I just have a couple of questions for you to see if this might be a good match for you, and then I can send you over to the team leader to go through the details. Would that be okay? Right? What is your production? What percentage of your production is sellers? What's the one thing that you want to do to increase your business? Right? What if you could wave a magic wand and fix one thing in your business, what would it be? What do you love about real estate? What do you hate about real estate? Right? Okay, you qualify. Surprise, surprise. Ding, ding, ding. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So there'll be sometimes where I take the meeting, and there'll be sometimes where I just hand it off. Either way, it doesn't make a difference. But for you, I think I would probably stick mostly, at least at the beginning, to inviting them to programming, or inviting them for a business consultation, or inviting them to a mastermind of some sort, or a class of some sort. One thing also that you should keep in the back of your mind is that particularly the higher producers are particularly sensitive to this, which is confidentiality.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're in touch with somebody, let's say they're a $4 or $5 million producer, and they're one of the top agents at their firm, right? By the way, if they're a $5 million producer and they're the top agent at their firm, they're looking around and being like, who's going to help me get to the next level here? I don't see anybody who has that. That's what I was at Metro Brokers 10 years ago or 11 years ago. I was making six figures, and I looked around and I said, I'm making more money than almost everyone in this entire company. I'm this little 26-year-old punk, and no one is going to help me take it to the next level. So I think I need to go hang out in a different room. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's probably what's going through their mind. By the way, if they're at a brokerage that is an old school brokerage, like your Berkshire, Century 21s, Remaxes, Coldwell Bankers, Harry Normans, those type of firms, those firms are going to get crushed when Zillow and Redfin and Keller Williams comes and rewrites this industry. They are so lost, it's not even funny.
Yeah.
Right? So sometimes, how Aaron Kaufman talks about this idea of interdependency is only something that independent agents value.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so dependent, you have to take an agent from being dependent to independence, so they can understand the value of interdependence. Dependent, by the way, would be like, where's my leads? Who's going to do this paperwork for me? Can somebody make this flyer for me? They want everything done for them, and they're willing to pay the price, right? Independent is, I'm the one leading this business. I don't know why I'm paying these guys 30%. I think I'll go to Virtual Properties or Chapman Hall or one of these companies where I pay very little for the relationship, and I get very little because either I have no interest in being engaged or I don't value it. And those are the thinkers that, if they've got the appropriate value system and mindset, would love Keller Williams if you can justify the value, right? And so the question really is, you got to figure out what they're frustrated about. Hey, what's the biggest struggle you're facing in your real estate business right now? My biggest struggle is there's not enough inventory. Oh, so what strategies is your broker coaching you guys on to find off-market deals? Well, we don't even have team meetings, and my brokers never talked to us about that. Oh, really? So would it be helpful for you to sit down with our team leader? He teaches on that every single week, and he'd love to share some ideas with you. It looks like he's available at 1 o'clock today or 2 o'clock tomorrow. Which one would be better? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So sometimes like the moment they express an issue, that's where you go for the kill. Whoa. So your biggest problem is you can't find listings, but no one in your environment is helping you with that? Did I hear that correctly? Yeah, you heard that correctly. Well, it's a good thing I called. When can we get together? Sounds like we need to meet. See what I'm saying?
Yep.
So now, and I mean, I've done this so many times, like a lot of this phraseology comes quickly to me, but it's not that complicated. I mean, it all basically goes to the same process, is helping a realtor understand that they are the reason why you do business. Okay, Justin, if you build a big database at Keller Williams, let's say you build a database of 500 people at Keller Williams, and in 3 years you say, hey, I think there's this other brokerage, ABC Realty, that is going to be a better match for me and my family and allow me to have a better quality of life. So I'm going to take my business there. Okay, great. So those 500 people that you have the relationship with, not Roswell's KW office, right? You have that relationship, right? You go, let's say, to ABC Realty. Do you think those 500 people are going to stick with you? Or do you think they're going to say, well, Justin was a nice guy, but Keller Williams is my brokerage, so I guess I'll call them and see if they want to give me a different realtor? Of course not. They're going to say, well, apparently I love Justin. Apparently he made a choice that makes financial sense for his family. I don't blame him. And I'm going to support him wherever he happens to go.
Yep.
See what I'm saying?
Yep.
So a lot of times you probably heard Aaron talk about this. I know I'm kind of a little bit everywhere, but we're kind of we're kind of doing the high level thinking right now, right? Most of your brand focused companies believe that their greatest asset is their brand. That's why they spend hundreds of millions of dollars telling the world how great their brand is. What do you think's happening with that Metro Brokers billboard? What do you think's happening with that Berkshire Hathaway billboard? What do you think's happening with that Century 21 or Remax Super Bowl commercials? They're directing traffic to their website so their agent, or so the consumer can find out whatever they're looking for, raise their hand and say, oh, that one, I want to see that one. And the website says, oh, we'll be more than happy to connect you with one of our real estate agents who's willing to pay us a 50% split plus a sliding scale transaction fee.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So what's happening is the brokerage is getting in between the consumer and the agent, right? Keller Williams is doing the exact opposite. Keller Williams doesn't even have a national brand advertising campaign because our biggest asset is not our brand. Our biggest asset is our people. So if we can retain you, then by default, we retain all your customers.
Yes.
If we lose you because we're not pouring into you and treating you with respect and making sure you're happy and making money, then we lose you. And as a byproduct, we lose all your customers, right?
Absolutely.
So if you're talking to somebody, like, let's say at Metro Brokers that, you know, has been taught to value that sign, that billboard, say, you know, are you currently getting a lot of leads from that? And they're like, yeah. And say, so if that were to change like overnight, what other strategies are you using to gather leads? Well, I'm not. So how much control do you have over your financial income and your lead flow? None. Oh, interesting. Would you like to learn some strategies so you can keep your business going and communicate with your database over time? We've got a class tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Matter of fact, it's the CE class on the 36 touch. Would you like to come? So you should have a calendar of maybe our calendar, Chattahoochee North's calendar, and North Atlanta's calendar right in front of you all day long.
Yeah.
So you know, if they say, hey, I got a buyer problem, you say, hey, we got this class on buyers next Thursday at this office. Oh, we got a technology problem. Oh, our tech person is, our in-house tech person is available for an hour consultation today. You know, maybe they can give you some ideas, totally free. Right? Oh, we got this speaker coming over to Chat North to talk about, you know, new construction neighborhoods or whatever. Would you like to come to that? So you basically have all your carrots right in front of you, right?
Yep.
So you're scouring, you know, variety of different things for resources. so that you can share these resources with our prospects. Now, just to finish that thought, when Keller Williams is doing the exact opposite, what they're doing is they're helping us create our own brands. They're teaching us to take control of the lead flow. They're teaching us to learn leadership and business skills so we can scale, right? And they're building agent loyalty because they're improving our quality of life, right? Agent loyalty on the other side is a scarcity mindset where they're being taught, oh my gosh, if you leave Coldwell Banker, you're not going to have the name of Coldwell Banker. Yeah, I hear you. That's exactly why I'm leaving, because I'm going to create my own brand, right?
Yep.
Now, keep in mind, this is all based on a statistic that says that 96% of consumers, or let me say it the other way, 4% of consumers select their real estate agent based on brand affiliation. Meaning they say, I've heard of this company called Remax, so I'll call Remax and they'll give me a Remax agent. Or I hear that Berkshire Hathaway is the best company out there. Let me call Berkshire Hathaway and they'll give me a Berkshire Hathaway agent. That happens 4% of the time. Therefore, the other 96% of the time, the consumer doesn't give a crap what company you're at. They just go out into the marketplace and they find the best agent they can find, right? And so all we have to do at Keller Williams is make sure that you're the best agent they can find. So we teach you how to lead generate, how to present, how to scale, how to use technology, how to save time, right? These types of things. And then we have a bunch of agents, they all go put their signs in people's yard, and that becomes the way that people recognize the brand of Keller Williams. Right?
Right.
So it's a completely opposite approach. It's to say that if the world 96% of the time just wants to talk about how the agent, then how do we make sure that the best agents work for us? So these are some higher level concepts. Did you get a chance to watch the ending, the whole Aaron Kaufman video?
I got halfway through it. I need to finish it.
Okay.
So it wasn't
I
interesting.
probably sat through
talking about that dependence, and I was like, that's probably something that's not necessarily in your script, but it needs to be identified. Sorry, buddy. It needs to be identified, like reading between the lines where the person's at.
100%. And I believe that you should have some level of baseline knowledge, not only about the industry at large, but about Keller Williams and their history and their culture and their belief systems and their technology initiatives and all these things, so that you can have an intelligent conversation around it if prompted, right?
Yes.
The last thing you want to happen is somebody says, well, I hear, this is not my line, this is Aaron's line, but he says, well, I hear Keller Williams is a pyramid scheme. And the best thing that the way that you reply is, well, I don't think it's a pyramid scheme, but would it be okay if my team leader explains that to you?
Yeah. Yeah.
So just out of curiosity, what does a pyramid scheme mean to you? How is Keller Williams a pyramid scheme? Oh, well, one agent gets a percentage of the other agent's commission. No, actually, that's not the way it works. That's revenue sharing. Profit sharing is where the owners of each of the brokerages has a system in place to reward the agents to help the company grow, and it comes straight out of the owner's profit. So what percentage of the owner's profit of your brokerage are you currently entitled to getting? Is your broker sharing any profits with you? Well, no, I just want to sell homes. Great. Well, we happen to be the #1 company for training. We happen to be the #1 company for women entrepreneurs, for veterans, et cetera. Right. And by the way, not everyone needs what we have. We don't want everyone that needs what we have. We want people that value what we value. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay, so let's go back to that sheet and let's just spend the last minute or two going through this. So the first thing that we can offer is business consults. Okay, the next thing we can offer is team meeting. The next thing we can offer is market center classes. Okay. I would say the next kind of level, if you will, would be let's see, paid training, right? So that would be things like career visioning. That would be things like bold. That would be things like any MAPS group coaching, right? That would be things like, by the way, you might say, hey, you know, at your production level, what we have done is offer some exclusive coaching programs available to you at no charge, no commitment. Can I get you in front of my team leader so he can, you know, get to know you a little bit better and determine which class might be the best for you, right?
Yeah.
So that can be kind of the theme, is when you're offering something of value, you can say, hey, just to make sure it's a fit for your business, would it be okay if I scheduled an opportunity for you to meet our team leader? And he can, once he learns a little bit more about your business, he can make some recommendations on some coaching opportunities that do cost money, but we would take care of that cost for you. Would that be okay? So that would be MAPS group coaching. So that implies that you should have some awareness of the MAPS group coaching opportunities. Okay, we also have something called the R2 engagement. Hang on. So R2, what is going on here? Okay, here we go. So R2 engagement. This is for cappers. They will offer, for cappers, they will offer 1 month of free 1 month of free MAPS coaching, so 4 half-hour calls for cappers. Okay, and that's completely for free. So we may have some coaching opportunities, you know, personalized private coaching on the proven models and systems of Keller Williams to help you scale your business, completely free, taught by professional coaches at the largest real estate coaching organization in the world, MAPS Coaching. I want to get you in front of my team leader to make sure that that's a great fit for you, right? So that's the R2 engagement program. Can you think of anything else? So
No,
this
I
would
liked it. I
also be
just didn't
things
know.
like family reunion or mega camp, right?
Yep.
Any of that kind of stuff. The next thing would be masterminds. So we may try to do something, for example, like I think we're starting to do like the mastermind, like becoming a top producer once a month, and top producer mastermind once a month. So once we know what those dates and times are, that could be our approach if the conversation leads us. Hey, we're hosting a mastermind. There's going to be agents from our office and from other offices. Just wanted to give you an opportunity to see, you know, put you in a room with agents, you know, roughly in your production level that, you know, are winning in today's business, and they're happy to share ideas of what they're doing. It's completely free, and there'll probably even be some food there, coffee or whatever there. Would you like to join? Right. So masterminds. Anything else that you can think of?
Yeah, I mean, it's along the same lines. We're starting to do the workshops. It sounds like we, you know, golden letter, and next month we'll start doing some Facebook stuff. And
Love that. That's exactly right. Exactly. Just trying to see if I have any other notes.
so as far as getting, like, I feel like I need to be on the phone. So as far as the script goes, I was kind of thinking of just a consultation kind of phone call, just like, hey, this is Justin with Keller Williams. Just wanted to reach out to you and see if there was anything that you need in your business. You know, it seems like agents, you know, they either struggle with not having enough leads, or they had too many leads, and was just curious, if there was anything that you need.
I would say I would try to ask more open-ended questions, because if they were to say no to that, which they probably would say no to that, you're at a bit of a stall.
Absolutely.
Right. So I would say I would lead with an offering. The reason for my call today is we have an awesome class taught by our Market Center leadership that is on the 36 touch plan. The 36 touch plan is the communication strategy that we use to communicate with our database systematically over time. And when it's done properly, should yield you 1 sale for every 16 people that you have in your database. Are you currently getting 1 sale per year for each 16 people that you have in your database? And they'll say, I don't even have a database. Right?
Yep.
Or they'll say, I'm not. I say, great, let me get you the information. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
A great question to ask, another great question to ask is something to the effect of, what's your biggest struggle in your business right now? What's the biggest thing you're struggling with in your business?
So I like that. I just feel like to call someone out of the blue with no
Dude,
relationship,
you're
it just
saving
seems.
these people's lives. That's the facts. I don't mean to be really in your face, but I'm going to be really in your face for a second.
Oh, it's good.
People are broke. These people are broke. Okay. Let me just paint a picture for you. Okay. There was one night or one day that they said, I want to be a real estate agent. And I believe that if I become a real estate agent, then I can have the life I dreamed of having. Right? I can work when I want. I can make the income I want. I can have freedom and flexibility, yada, yada, yada. And they got all geeked up about what their life would be like when they were done being a real estate agent. Then they go through the process of getting a license. Then they walk in the front door of whatever brokerage they happen to join, and they realize that it's got nothing to do with the way they saw it on TV. And instead, they got to go actually work. Right? And when they realize that, everything kind of changes, and then they have a new attitude around being a real estate agent. And if they happen to have some success, meaning they maybe are a half capper or a barely capper, okay, keep in mind, a barely capper at an 80-20 company is grossing, let's say $55,000, $60,000, right? Then they're paying out another 15. So now they're down to 40, 45. Then they're paying taxes on that. Or let's say they're paying expenses. Let's say it cost a few $1,000s to be there. So now they're down to 35. Now they pay taxes on the 35. Now they're down to 25. I don't think they wanted to get into the business to make 25,000. And if they tell you they are, I think they're lying.
Yeah.
So let me tell you something, Justin. You might feel like this is a little strange, calling and asking what you can do to help them, but you're saving these people's lives.
Well, I guess it's the verbiage. So I'm just calling and I'm like, hey, Bill, this is Justin with Keller Williams. How are you doing today? I was just calling because I was curious, what your biggest struggle in the business has been so far. That just seems, maybe that's right.
Well, I don't think I would lead with that. I think I would say, hey, I want to invite you to this listing presentation class because of your production level. Hey, by the way, congratulations. I see you're number 7 at the Metro Broker's office. Congratulations. They're like, oh, I didn't know that. So wait, nobody told you were number 7? Interesting. Hey, I wanted to invite you to a listing presentation class that we have going on this Friday. You can hop on Zoom and, hopefully get some tips and strategies that our agents are using to take their business to the next level. Would that be of interest to you? Oh, no, I don't want to be recruited. I'm busy Friday. Well, I get it. I totally understand. So let me ask you, what's the biggest struggle you're having in the real estate business right now? The biggest struggle I'm having is with scripts. Oh, what do you know? Next week at Chat North, there's a class on scripts. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And then as far as like what my main responsibility is at the moment, am I supposed to be finding a script that fills Aubrey's calendar, or I'm just starting conversations to start building those relationships to then start bringing them in.
I think there's a couple different routes I would go. The first is I would always be prepared with Aubrey's schedule pulled up. Always be prepared to book an appointment with him if given the opportunity. Otherwise, I would use some form of a carrot to get them in the door.
Okay.
So, and then once they come to the class, or whether they say they can't come to the class, say, oh, you won't be able to make it? Well, I'll be there and I'll take great notes. Can I call you right after the class and give you some pointers or something like that, right? Hey, sorry you missed the class. My team leader would love to meet with you privately and share some of the ideas and learn a little bit more about your business and see how he can help you. He's available tomorrow at 2 or Thursday at 4. So either one of those times work for you? See what I'm saying?
Yep.
Okay. Keep in mind, man, almost everyone you call is broke. They need help.
Yeah.
They have a dream to have this life of freedom and flexibility, yet they're only selling a couple of houses a year. They're
Absolutely.
stuck. Okay. If they knew how to sell more, they'd do it. The problem is they don't know how to sell anymore. And that's where we come in.
Some of these scripts we were mentioning, we're talking about, we reach out to the agent, ask them how the other agent was, and then we reach out to that agent and just say, hey, we were talking about that's kind of somewhat stepping on toes. I was talking with Kathy about it. I forget her last name. And she mentioned, she was like, I don't care. I don't care if you call the other agent. She's like, if I didn't call them, then I don't care. Like,
let's hold off on the co-op scripts.
Yeah.
Until we get just a little bit more practice on what we've talked about so far, because
Okay.
that's a little bit more of a delicate conversation that we probably need to spend a little bit more time on.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So do you feel ready to make some calls?
Yeah, I would love to listen to this recording again, the last part, and then
Okay, perfect.
start making some calls.
Beautiful. All right, I'm gonna also watch the end of the Aaron Kaufman session, and I'll send this to you momentarily as soon as it stops. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, man.
No, thank you.
Mhm.